So what's really going on here? Well, that's a big question. And I believe that the entirety of the UFO question comes down to a cosmic battle between good and evil. There are good ETs and there are very bad ETs. And the good ETs are essentially the authors of all the major world religions. There is a singular, I believe, a singular unified core of spiritual information that these various ETs, posing as humans on Earth, posing as avatars like Jesus, like Gautama Buddha, like Muhammad, these folks come in here and they convey very important messages to us about what really is the nature of the cosmic game that we're playing. What are we doing here on Earth? What is the reason for our existence? And that's seeking. Seeking is looking at your life and saying, there's got to be something more. And part of why you're here, I think, and you probably agree with me, is that the pieces don't all fit together. You're looking for some greater integration of all these mysteries because it's really bizarre. The more you find out the truth, to look at it and say, how could so much information be withheld from us? And why is this information being withheld? And if it is being withheld, what is the greater objective behind this? So as we've gone deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, and I'm sure you've done this research or you wouldn't be here, you figured out, for example, that the United States dollar is printed by a private corporation called the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal nor has a reserve. It's a consortium of international bankers. And if you read my book, Financial Tyranny, then you know that the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, or FIT, one of the leading scientists there, Dr. James Glatfelder, came out with a study that confirmed that there's 147 corporations earning 80% of all the money there is to be earned in the world. And of those, since a lot of you are looking at the TV, I'll just start looking over there so I can see you. Eyes, people, eyes. 147 corporations, 2/3 of which are financial institutions. What does that mean? That means you could fold up as many different tinfoil hats as you want. You can make it into a swan. You can make it into a buck with big antlers. Doesn't matter what your tinfoil hat looks like. We got scientific data. And the reason why you don't get the data is because the people who are earning that 80% of that money in the world, part of what they're doing is they're controlling the media. Okay? 6 corporations that run 80 to 90% of all the TV shows, all the movies, all the books, all the newspapers. But look at what's happened with the internet. We have truly democratic communication. There's all these places you can go online now where what actually gets to be read is what people like the most, not what's being spoon-fed to them by the powers that were. So what we're dealing with here is a mass awakening to the fact that these international banks did, in fact, more or less win up to a point. They did win. They control the media, or the old media. They control governments. They control militaries. To a large degree, they were extremely successful, so we can all kind of applaud that in sort of this gallows humor way, like, wow, they did a really amazing job. But why are they doing this stuff? Now, what compels a group of people, no matter how psychopathic or sociopathic they might be, to want to kill 5.5 billion people on Earth? And as it says on the Georgia Guidestones, tenet number 1 is maintain humanity in a stable population of 500 million people in balance with nature. 500 million is like very much less than what we have now. Where do all the other people end up going? Well, as we've been talking about, and as we've learned more and more, the ultimate answer to the question is that our military-industrial complex is being controlled by negative extraterrestrials. And I know that's a very audacious thing to say, but you're an audacious person or you wouldn't be here. Be cleaner, okay? I promise. Anyway, this is the goal. If you can get to the point that you see everything and everyone as your mirror and you're in this loving consciousness, you tell the universe, hey, look, I figured it out. This is who I am. And then you remember who you are. And that memory causes your physical body to dissolve. Now, there's actually some leaks that have come through Namkhai Norbu and other Tibetan Buddhist leaders about how you do that. And this practice is called Trekcho. Now, when you get to this state where you can recognize that the universe is all reflections of you, that you are the only thing that really exists, you are that primordial awareness, you created the universe, and everything that you see is the universe reflecting back to you, then that's a state they call Rigpa. And when you get into Rigpa, you begin to ascend. You're not all the way done, but you're really close. Now, they have different ways to get there. There's 9 different layers of Buddhism, and they have different approaches of how to get through this Rigpa and how to get there. Trekcho is a Tibetan Buddhist method that happens to be what they feel is the fastest way to get to the Rigpa state, where you recognize that you are the reflector that's all the mirrors are reflecting back to you. In order to do this, you have to cut the cords. This is a very important point. Every time that someone judges you, every time that someone hurts you, every time that someone belittles you or humiliates you, they're laying a cord on you. And you want to lovingly cut those cords and hand them back. Because if you want the hot air balloon to take off, you got to cut the sandbags. If you want to ascend, you can't be weighted down. So it's all these entrapments. It's all these people that are judging you, and then you judge them. This is why in the Law of One it says, in forgiveness lies the stoppage of the wheel of karma. If you cannot forgive the people who have hurt you, then you are bound on that wheel, and you will keep rolling through, going from joy to disaster, cyclically, where you go from having a positive experience to being all the way at rock bottom. You lose your money, you lose your love, you lose your family, you lose everything. And then you got to dig your way back out again. You finally get to feeling good, but if you haven't forgiven the people who hurt you when you were down here, it's just going to spin again. And this is what in Law of One terms they call true helplessness. True helplessness is people who keep repeating the same cycle, thinking that if they just get enough money or if they just get enough fame, that something better is going to happen for them. Now, interestingly enough, how many of you know who Kylie Jenner is? Raise your hand. Nobody wants to raise their hand, right? Okay, for those of you who don't know, Kim Kardashian's stepfather is now a woman, or is about to become a woman, Bruce Jenner, right? He's transitioning. Kylie Jenner is Bruce Jenner's daughter. So she's part of the Kardashian clan, and they are like the media mavens. They're buying all this advertising time, and so every time they leave the house, people take pictures of them and make it into articles on these tabloid websites. Now, why would I be looking at these tabloid websites? Well, the answer is, if you're in the jungle, you got to figure out where the bananas are, right? So you gotta figure out who are the tribal gods of the culture that you live in, and why are they worshiping them? So Kylie Jenner recently tweeted about chemtrails, which is a big deal, because she's a mainstream media figure. There's articles about her all the time. Did Kylie Jenner plump her lips with lip injections? And she got so heckled online and said, oh, it's just the way I put my lipstick on. She finally had to admit, yes, I am using silicone or whatever it is, injections in my lips. So now maybe she's feeling a little bit sore about being ridiculed that way and her father being ridiculed by having a gender transition. She comes out and tweets about chemtrails and says, what the heck are they spraying in the sky? Well, that got me excited. I went and took a look at this tweet, and then I start reading the other tweets that come below that. Oh, my gosh. It's all downhill from there. And what I saw very quickly was shocking to me, which was people obsessively posting tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet, like every few seconds is what it would have to be. So there's thousands and thousands and thousands of these. Please, Kylie, will you recognize me? Please follow me. I'll do anything. It would be the greatest thing of my entire life if you would just follow me. They want to be famous so bad that they think that if Kylie Jenner hits the button on their thing by bombarding her 8 million times, that they're going to arrive. Well, guess what? Way, way back in 1999, for me, this was a long time ago in my career. I just launched my website. I thought, my God, if I could only get on the Art Bell show, even once, it's like everything will just open up for me and my whole life will be fulfilled. Art's got 20 million listeners, right? Well, Art finally contacted me and I get on his show. And then I not only got on his show once, I got on his show again 2 weeks later for the full 4 hours. Well, what did I expect was going to happen? I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm going to just be like, I've fulfilled my life's purpose. I got 400 emails, dead silence. Nothing changed. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, yes, Art has 20 million listeners if you believe Richard C. Hoagland, and I think he was right at the time. And I'm just one person they're listening to on one night who they immediately forgot and just went on to the next thing. So why do you think we have what I lovingly call Elvis Marilyn syndrome? The people that get all the way to the top, where you don't even have to say the last name. You know who they are. It's Elvis, right? It's Marilyn. Were they happy? Elvis could bang out a Rolls Royce for you, just here you go. Right? Was he happy to bang out Rolls Royces for everybody? No. Marilyn died apparently of suicide. There's some speculation that JFK told her the truth about UFOs and she was murdered. That may be true, but even if that is true, she was definitely very depressed and hated her life. You look at the Beatles, right? Why did the Beatles end up writing their best albums? It's because they stopped touring because they frickin' hated being famous. That's where you get Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Abbey Road. Okay, these are classic albums because the band is falling apart, the White Album, okay? And in the process, they're like, screw being famous, we hate this, but we'll still write music. So the point is, you look at this, it's the same thing over and over again. Our materialistic society teaches you, these girls are thinking that if Kylie will follow them, that they're going to be happy. But I learned something really interesting about that a long time ago. The gambler needs to know when he has won so he can step away from the table and not continually put his winnings back into the pool. Because if you do that, you're always going to end up losing everything. And in this game of life, nobody tells you at a certain point, hey, you did a good thing. If you haven't solved this craving inside yourself that says, I am okay, I am enough the way I am, then you will always want more, and it's this hunger that can never be satisfied. Elvis was still hungry. Marilyn was still hungry because our society told them, you have arrived. But they did not feel it. Everybody around them is saying, Elvis is the greatest thing ever. Marilyn is the greatest thing ever. The Beatles are the greatest thing ever. Michael Jackson is the greatest thing ever. They're not happy. They're not enjoying it. So what you have to do ultimately is realize that at any point, you are good enough. You don't need to get to any goal. Goals are good to set for yourself. You want to have goals, but the goal should not define your self-worth. It should not be, once I get my college degree, then I will be happy because then I will be able to get a job. Well, how well does that frickin' work? In today's age, once I fall in love, then I will be so happy. I'm surprised I even still have a sack. Okay? I learned that one 5 times in a row. That's about all I'm willing to say. I'll do the grandma's dentures and the wet kiss thing, but let's not talk about how she holographically reiterated as each of my girlfriends. That's too much. I've had a lot of dreams about this, by the way. So, you're not going to get anywhere by becoming famous. That doesn't do anything for you. In fact, a lot of times it's crippling. You got to be your own best friend. You have to love yourself, and that's very difficult. And guess what? If you don't love yourself, you are totally vulnerable to a hostile takeover by someone who decides that they love what you're going to do for them a lot more than what you would do if you were free and sovereign. And we're talking now not only sociopathic types, we're talking about folks like the Illuminati who see us as despicable. We're unenlightened, we're unwashed, useless eaters. And what's happened is they don't enjoy anything about themselves either. They're thinking we're so freaking amazing, but yet they're being tortured, they're being raped, they're having to go through these horrible satanic ceremonies. They don't like it. Nobody's happy. So really the key to becoming enlightened is to just be happy all the time and learn to just be at peace with your life the way it is. And so there's a lot of interesting trends in this direction where we have this whole younger generation, the millennials as they are now being called. 35% of men, 32% of women, 35 and under are living with their parents. It's a whole generational thing that's happened. And in some ways that's good because it's giving them more time to go into this contemplative state. So what I'm saying is that when you have free time, when you have more time to be in a zen out kind of condition, you can contemplate, you can visualize, and you focus on creating unity consciousness and a loving feeling in yourself. So that's what this is all about, is getting to the point where every thought is a loving thought. They also have a guide to the meditation, which is this. This is the Tigle, T-I-G-L-E. Now that form in the middle is the Sanskrit vowel A. It's the same thing as the letter A, basically. And they tone this sound, ah, is how it's pronounced, and then what they're doing is they're visualizing that this is essentially the Vajravarahi Mandala, the original vibration that the whole universe is made of. You actually visualize this form, and you visualize this rainbow circle of light shooting off of it, and that's what creates the universe, and that is apparently the fastest way to ascend. You're toning, you're visualizing the creation of the universe, and that makes your mind harmonize with this being who you are. So take it from Elvis and Marilyn. You can win the game on the physical plane. You can have everybody talking about you. Everybody knows who you are. Limitless money. And these Tibetans that are literally so into the earth that when they run out of their shoes, they cut their shoes up into ropes that they can use to tie their yaks together. That's frickin' poor, man. When's the last time you decided to try to use your shoes when they wore out? Okay, it's not about the money. It's not about the possessions. When you get into this science, when you get into this meditative philosophy, as long as you can take care of your basic needs, you're in a blissful state. So, and that's because you are remembering who you are. So you purify yourself of everything that obscures the light, everything that obscures your true identity. You have to witness your karma. That means figure out, what have you done? What has caused these loops of suffering to keep repeating in your life over and over again? Why does grandma keep showing up as my girlfriend? Whatever it is, I don't know. Then you got to forgive and dissolve the karma until it holds no cause. Okay? You forgive yourself and you forgive the people who hurt you. You dissolve all that stuff. You let go and you breathe in the love. You breathe in the consciousness of the ascended state. As you do this, as you dissolve your karma, your physical body calms down to a death-like condition that they call samadhi, which is definitely a very cool thing. Now you're almost there. This is a deep state of union with your true identity that then occurs on a conscious level. That's not the end. There is another layer of the practice called Togal, which is your final practice after you've achieved self-realization. So there's actually more. At this point, you now become the essence of the universe. You're not just observing the universe as a mirror. You become the universe itself. You become the mirrors. Just like what they say in The Matrix, where the little kid says, it is not the spoon that it bends, it's only yourself. Right? Okay, we got Obama, we got Matrix Kid. What else can I do? I could do Angry Daddy. We got lots of them. Hey, baby, I did Elvis too. That's right. Then all your blockages, karma, and thoughts are cleared. That's interesting too, because the Tibetans actually teach that thinking creates karma. Isn't that something? Just the fact that you are thinking actually perpetuates karma. So any thoughts that you're having other than just being this omniscient intelligence is creating new karma for yourself. At this point, your identity becomes cosmic awareness. You're no longer hanging on to anything other than the truth of who and what you are. At this point, your physical body dissolves into pure light. And again, 160,000 people have followed these practices, and it works. And you then become the wisdom body, or what they call the rainbow body. So you basically lose the thinking. You get back to the point where you're just having primordial awareness. And then this is what they call Jalus. That's the name they give for what we're calling the rainbow body. So here again is what that looks like as you get to that final state. So just to quickly cover this again, the Vajravarahi Mandala, as we just showed you, is this primordial shape that is behind that tigli. It's behind the ah sound. They're visualizing this thing, which we now know through scientific investigation, is in fact what the universe is made out of. That's the one little shape that's hiding down at the tiniest level. So